This is the AOHi Starship 40,000 mAh power bank. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and break this down, show you guys some of the features and functions of this dock itself, as well as put it to the test on a 26-hour road trip where I'm going to see if I can keep all my devices charged up and compare that to the claims they've made online about how many charges you can get for each device. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into what you can expect for power and outputs and how many ports you get on this device right here. And then after that, we'll see you in the car. So one of the first things you'll notice when you get this out of the box is the design itself. Not only is the box pretty cool, the way that it opens up is a great unboxing experience. AOHi took some design cues from a space capsule and the engine on that space capsule when designing this device. So you're going to see some pretty cool graphics on the side. You're going to actually have an integrated display on the center here that's going to give you a bunch of information as far as the battery percentage of this power brick right here. You're going to see what mode it's in. There are two of them, so you can have power bank mode and charging station mode, where you can kind of fix this at your desk, have one input, give yourself multiple options to charge different devices. It's also going to give you information about the ports themselves. So how many watts are coming to the input and how many watts are going out of these outputs here. Speaking of outputs, we have two USB Type-Cs and a USB Type-A for your output ports. Using in combination, these two USB ports can support 65 watts together. If you use all three ports, you'll get 60, 60, and 18 on the Type A, or individually, this USB Type-C can support up to 140 watts output as well through Power Delivery 3.1. They also do include a nice Power Delivery 3.1 cable. But one of the really nice things about this device is that it does support that 140 watt fast charging. So whether you're charging in an iPhone, a camera, an iPad, a Mac, another laptop, you're going to be sure that every single device you plug in is receiving its fastest charge possible. So 20 or so watts on this device here, an iPhone. If you have an Android, I know some of them can do 30, 40, 50, or even 60 watts, you'll get that out of this. So almost like having just a variable fast charger no matter where you go. So that's one really cool thing with this here. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get packed up. We'll see you guys in the car. We have officially started our road trip. So for devices, we have this iPhone right here. We are at 76%. This is our main GPS device. 11 hours and 14 minutes to go. So we're about an hour and 40 minutes in. We have this iPhone, which is my 15 Pro Max. This is at 87%, and the goal for that one is going to be just use it for Spotify, backup, pit stops, things like that. We have our two co-pilots, so one right here, the other one right there. They're sleeping on the job, so not doing that much work. As for the battery bank, we have it plugged in right now, and it is very hard to see this display. I can turn it on with this button here, and I can see that it is at 98%, and it says my camera is drawing about 7 watts, but I also have this little digital meter right here, and this one's much easier to see in the car. Well, I got this to see if it compares to the exact same wattage we get out of this one, but it's also going to be easier for you guys to see as well. So this is saying we're kind of bouncing between 7 and 9. So the camera's really taking whatever it needs. It's nice to have this already because my camera has a pretty small battery. In the back, we do have my iPad and MacBook in here. So I will be busting out my MacBook probably in an hour or two and beginning to work on some edits for this video. I am going to be plugging that in as well. So I'll go ahead and update you guys with a little digital tester to show you guys exactly how much juice the MacBook will draw as I'm working on it, as we're using it in the car. And then for the battery bank itself, I will not be charging it at any point during this trip. So if it dies halfway through, we'll just kind of leave it dead. That's pretty much where the video is going to stop. But the goal, I hope, is going to be getting it home and seeing how much is left. 10%, 20%, 30%, I'm not entirely sure. I think we'll probably have a couple of charges on these phones. I'll probably juice them up once they hit 50%. But like I said, we have 13 there total and then 13 back. We are staying for a few days as well. So we'll kind of be bouncing around, but mostly just kind of give you guys a better idea of what this bank is capable of. So once I get that MacBook plugged in, we'll see you guys soon. The laptop is now out, and we can see in the upper right-hand corner here, we are holding pretty consistently. We have the little power plug icon. That means the battery is leveling off. To do that, we are taking 20 volts and about 1.5 watts to a watt at times on here. We also ended up plugging in the iPhone. That did get down to about 35%, and we are at 52 now. So this has been plugged in for about a half an hour. We have 8.5 hours to go of the 13 hours. The battery bank itself is faring pretty well. I don't know if you guys can see the display on here, but we do have 94% remaining. It says we're giving about 10.7 to the iPhone here and 0.2 to 0.4 going to the MacBook. look. So pretty surprising overall to see exactly how much has only been taken out of the battery bank over the last 30 minutes. I thought there would be quite a bit more considering we are using DaVinci Resolve, which is an intensive application. I can definitely feel the heat coming off the laptop. Update on our co-captains. We got 2 sleepy co-captains back there, not doing a whole lot to help out, but we are in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, so they do have a little bit more nature to look at. As far as me, I'm gonna continue editing this video and see exactly how much more we can drain out of this battery. So we'll see you guys in a couple hours with hopefully a more consistent chunk taken out of the battery. We are currently passing through South Dakota and it is starting to rain. But the good news is now that it is a little bit darker, we can finally see the display. And as you can see here, we have this iPhone plugged in again and the camera is still in. So USB-A and USB-C 2. And only 29% has been used. This is almost back up to full. We're at 97 coming from roughly 28 or so. 2 hours and 3 minutes to go. Co-pilots have completely given up on their job. They are sleeping in the back. But also we charged that Macbook a little earlier for about 45 or 50 minutes while using DaVinci Resolve. So I am also caught up on the edits for this video. So thoroughly impressed again that we've only used 29% of the power capacity of this battery bank. Once this iPhone is topped off, we may or may not draw some more power from this, but once we get where we're going, like I said, I'm not gonna be charging this at all. We're gonna pick right up with whatever state it's at now when we head back home, and then continue doing any final edits, charging our devices. So I am curious to see what we're gonna go home with, because I feel like we're gonna have some power once we get home. I don't know if it's gonna be 20%, 30%, maybe even 40%, but we'll see. So if you are curious how much juice we end up with, stay tuned for that. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in a couple days. And just like that, 8 days later, we are back on the road for 13 hours. There it is, heading home. This iPhone is currently sitting at 85%. We've only used it for about 35 minutes, and the battery bank itself is currently sitting at, let's take a look here, 63. So we only use 37% getting here. I have a feeling I'm gonna be doing a little bit more editing on my Mac on the way back, since we're gonna have mostly the finished product. So we'll see exactly how much juice we have when we start busting out the devices and the cables, keeping everything charged up, and how much we're gonna have, if any, once we get home. I'm thinking we might have 20, 30, but I guess we'll find out. We finally got a little break in rainfall, so we are currently sitting at, if you guys can see that, 50% battery remaining on the AOHi Starship. Charging the iPhone 14, that is our GPS device, we're sitting at 97%, 7.5 hours to go. We started at 30%, and one thing to note with this is it is always on, since we are using it for all of our turns, like we have one coming up at 1.7 miles, so we need to see where we're going, and right now, this phone, our podcast phone, is connected to the Bluetooth, so that one has stayed on constantly. So pretty impressive to see that the Starship has been powering an always-on display, which is going to take considerably more battery. For the next few hours, we're probably going to keep driving. There may be some thunderstorms, some more rain popping up, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be pulling out the laptop or not. But I will be updating you guys as we get a little closer to home where the battery bank ends up, and then my final thoughts and a conclusion on the Starship power bank. We are down to 20 minutes of our 13-hour road trip. The windshield is completely covered in bugs, and I have been doing my absolute best to try and kill this. Right now we have this iPhone 15 plugged in and this iPhone 14, and it will just not die. So in total, I think we've done 4 full charges on that iPhone 14, our GPS one. We've done 1 total full charge on my phone, so 5 iPhone charges, and we were able to hold the MacBook Pro 14-inch for about an hour at 100%, or right around 100% when it said it stabilized its battery. And we also maintained a full-frame Canon mirrorless camera on this trip. 13 hours there, 13 hours back, and we're probably gonna get home with around 15%, so a little bit more left in the tank to probably charge 1 more iPhone. So the claims made online are definitely accurate. I bet you could maybe get 7.5 to 8 charges on a larger size, plus sized iPhone, so that is pretty dang impressive. The one downside, however, and it's not the display is fine if you look at it, you know, in lower light. If it's in direct sunlight, you can't see, but the one downside is that this battery bank is 144 watt hours, or 40,000 milliamps. So with that, a lot of airlines have a capacity of 100 watt hour to bring on board. There are some that allow up to 160, so if you are flying with this device, you may run into some trouble, and before you just try and pack it on your carry-on bag, you may want to check with the airline that you're flying with to see if they allow that 160 watt-hour capacity, or if you can get a special circumstance or a special permission granted to bring that one on board in your carry-on. That seems to be the only downside I can think of, because the battery bank itself has been extremely useful. I've enjoyed using it. It's super convenient, especially because you can use it as an additional USB hub, where if you only have one USB plug but you still have maybe an Apple Watch, a couple phones, or something else to charge, you do get those 3 additional USB ports. So super nice to have that. It's been great on this trip. I thought we could potentially kill it, but we're not going to be able to. It's been great. So that's my thoughts on the device. If you guys like the video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you have any questions, you want to learn more about the device, I'll have everything down in the description down below. You can check it out on AOHi's website. And if you like videos like this and you want to see more of them, don't forget to don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've been in this car for far too long. I'm excited to get out. We're gonna go to bed, and we'll see you guys on the next video.